Welcome to the Leadership Series sponsored by CIMA. We have a very special and eminent guest with us today, Mr. Ransith Karunaratne, who's functioning as the CEO of UB Finance. He's also a board of director and a fellow member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. He's also been identified as one of the top 50 icons and trailblazers by CIMA. He also additionally holds an MBA from PIM University. Good day to you, Ransith. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are very honored and privileged to have you. CIMA is a globally recognized management accountancy qualification. How has your journey been with CIMA? Why did you decide to pursue CIMA?
Firstly, thank you for having me on this program. I consider it a great honor and a privilege to be part of CIMA. My journey with CIMA started way back in around 1997 when my parents, just out of college, were looking at options for my education, and they approached one of their friends and he recommended that I take on CIMA. And at that time I really didn't know what it was even, but I started it, and it was an interesting thing. I did well in the first couple of stages. I passed, I think, well, maybe all A's. But at the beginning it was good, but somewhere towards the end they introduced the case study, and that got me stuck, and I struggled with it for a couple of attempts, and I really didn't know what to do because I was doing my best and I was getting all the advice I could, but it was not really working for me. So then I wrote to CIMA in the UK and told them, help me out here. I'm trying my best. I'm looking at all my options, but for some reason I'm not getting through. And they were kind, and they wrote back to me and said, we are having this trial program in Sri Lanka where we are trying to get the case study online, and so we have selected 10 students, and so we'll include you also in this trial program. And I remember going to the CIMA auditorium, and they had these invigilators from the UK who had come down. They briefed us, and I sat for this exam online, and happy to say that out of the 10 or 11 that sat the exam, I was one of the 2 that passed. And it was a great experience to pass, and getting it for free as well, because I was part of the trial program. They did not charge me even. So since then I've been associated with CIMA in many capacities, as a student, as a lecturer. I've been a corporate partner, and I'm greatly honored. Last year, CIMA recognized me as one of their top 50 trailblazers and icons. So I'm proud to be a CIMA.
What are the skills that you acquire post completion of CIMA? What kind of advice would you like to share to students and professionals? We see a change in skills. Skills change, and we need to adapt to those skills as well. What skills have you acquired from the qualification? How have you applied those skills, and what is your advice?
Yeah, CIMA is, I would say, a comprehensive qualification. It is not just management accountancy or numbers that you learn, but you learn many skills along the way, from law to HR to IT to administration. It's a comprehensive study, and it prepares you for a longer journey. I believe that CIMA accountant is a unique breed. They are able to understand situations better and apply better. So for me, during times of uncertainty and volatility, this type of person who has a versatility of skills is a preferred employee for me.
As you rightly mentioned, CIMA is a multifaceted qualification, and we've seen a complete transformation in the role of professional accountants. Finance has evolved, and they are considered to be business partners. What is your advice to accountants that are looking at upskilling and reskilling themselves in line with the market trends?
Yes, the business requirements, as you quite rightly said, has greatly expanded. You can't limit yourself to being an accountant that works on a spreadsheet or on a system. You need to have multi skills, and CIMA, I think, provides a foundation for those multi skills. They look into the side of HR, IT, law, and all these things that make employer or employee more wholesome.
So, Ransith, do you think education is a key prior to embarking on your professional journey, or do you reckon experience gained on the way is more important? Could we single out a factor as education is more important than experience, or vice versa? What are your thoughts?
Unlike in the good old days where I remember my grandparents and parents used to say that experience is good enough. You know, they talked about how people worked and got the experience. In the current context, you need to have a solid foundation. You need to have good education, a good foundation to build your career. And I believe that CIMA gives you a good foundation to launch. It's like you've heard Red Bull gives you wings. CIMA gives you wings in a sense.
I just wanted to ask you in terms of entrepreneurs and the startup ecosystem, especially giving context to the current situation and the crisis we are in. Would you encourage someone to start their own business venture?
Yeah. Firstly, I think entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Entrepreneurship is something that takes a lot of courage. You need to have a lot of staying power. And if you don't have that, then don't get into it. Get into a normal corporate job and it'll work fine for you. But if you are an entrepreneur, if you have that sense of some vision in your mind, firstly you need to have a good idea, and the good idea needs to be commercially viable, right? And what I mean by commercially viable is, first it needs to be profitable, right? And it needs to be scalable, right? And the third thing, it needs to be sustainable. So if it meets those three criteria, probably you can get into your idea, run it through someone, have somebody, a mentor or somebody who can always bounce it off. Because sometimes a lot of people get into things thinking that they have a great idea, but you need somebody to sometimes polish it up and make it commercially viable. Also, you need to have a good plan in place. Planning is critical. If you don't plan, you will not succeed. That means in the sense of from end to end. It's a long haul. It's not a start. Many people start, but it's about taking it to the end. So you need to plan out your journey.
I would also like to ask you in terms of networking, how important is networking? How has it been for you personally and professionally? Has it value added when you connect with other business people alike?
Certainly. Networking is something that's very important to grow a business. And especially in a country like Sri Lanka, where it's a smaller business space, everyone knows everyone. And you networking and knowing people makes it easier to open doors. But networking alone won't get you there. You need to have your foundations right as well. But certainly networking does help you. And in my career, when I started, maybe I didn't know a lot of people because my parents are not from this industry or nor any of my relations. But I've got to know some very great people along the way. And networking with them has certainly grown me and grown our business as well.
You touched on the industry as well. Speaking about the banking industry, we are in one of the most unprecedented economic crisis, a very turbulent time that all of us are going through. How is the banking and finance industry responding to what is going on?
The banking and finance sectors are, I suppose, they've been doing very well over the last decade or so. And you would see that maybe 20 of the top 30 companies that come out on different publications are banks and finance companies, which I always felt was it's not balanced. I felt like, if you look at the bigger economies or the more developed economies, you'll have more manufacturing, more frontline operations, leading the pack. Where in Sri Lanka, it has been the banking and the finance sector that leads some of the main corporates in the country. So this, I think, with this crisis, things should ease out. But also need to add that banks are well capitalized. I think all the banks and finance companies, I think the central bank has brought in some good governance, and the banks and finance companies are as well prepared to face this crisis as they have ever been. But obviously they will have to come out with new products. They'll have to thin their margins. There'll be certain corrections that will take place. Maybe they will not be in the top 30 companies anymore, but their banks and finance companies are needed to take the economy into a positive state, because they are a service provider that facilitates growth. So certainly you'll see business models change. They'll go more tech, more IT based kind of solutions, but the changes will happen, and I hope it'll happen for the better.
I just wanted to ask you, in terms of the term success, if you could define the term success in your own words.
Okay. Success is a very broad, I think it has a lot of meanings to a lot of people, different people, and I think to some people it's about money, it's about power, it's about position. Personally for me, I think success for me would be to impact lives, to impact people's lives. That includes mine. It includes mine, but to leave your legacy, impact, leave the world a better place than you got it, or leave your companies or what you inherit a better place than you've got it. And if you do that, I think you'll truly be successful. All the other things, the money, the success and the power, those things will come along with it. But when we start impacting lives, I think that's where a lot of companies and even states get it wrong. When it becomes very personal, it's a personal thing. It's not personal. It's about who you impact and the legacy you leave behind. I think that is true success.
We are in a post-pandemic era, and there might be certain best practices that companies, both private and public, need to adapt. In your opinion, could you share some of the best practices that you feel companies should adapt, and you could also share your experience as to what is being practiced at UB Finance as well?
Yeah, I think COVID and the impending financial crisis has changed the landscape of how we operate, how we do business, and I think everything will change. The game has changed, and all companies that make the change to their respective business will survive, and the others will not. They will be eliminated by the macro. Also, see, we need to work closely with the private and the public sectors. Need to work hand in hand. It's like in an organization, you get the front line and the support services. I would say the private sector is pretty much like the front line. They are the guys who go out, do the business, generate the revenue, create the jobs. They drive the economy. Whereas the public sector, a lot of the time, is the support service that supports the private sector to facilitate this or to do this in terms of transport, power, the education, the health, all that. So we need to work hand in hand, and a lot of the time we try to compete with. It's not a competition. I think as the public sector needs to understand that they need to be lean and mean, and they need to be able to facilitate this. If they don't adjust, your business will always fail.
Ransith, do you see that personal development, skill enhancement is relevant today? Especially, I've seen students or even professionals, for a fact, they limit themselves to the 9 to 5 that they do. How important is personal development and skill enhancement in your view? Should individuals constantly invest in them?
As I said before, a preferred employee is multi-skilled. Now, if you have an idea or a dream to get into a boardroom, right, or get into general management, I think the more skills you acquire along the way will certainly help you, right? And I've seen CIMA graduates who are also lawyers, who are IT professionals, who are risk people, compliance people. So these guys make, because they understand the whole spectrum of business better, they make better contributions at higher levels. So certainly acquiring skills it will be an advantage for those looking to reach greater heights.
I just wanted to ask you, in terms of skills as well, there could be students that are contemplating on doing sports, or there might be certain extracurricular activities such as being a part of a club or a society. Do you feel they would acquire certain skills as well? And do you reckon their employability will increase if they get involved in certain sports and extracurricular activities?
Sports is certainly an enabler, and so are extracurricular activities. So I've drawn many examples as a school boy, where sports really, it enables ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results. And from the time you get onto the court, I played basketball, though I'm not very tall. That too, my parents' choice, and I had to work really hard at it because I was one of the short guys, and so to get the ball, I had to jump really high, and but I did, and we ended up. I ended up captaining the basketball team, which was something extraordinary for me because I was the shortest on the team, and we went on from being an ordinary team to being an extraordinary team. And the things we did along the way, I certainly draw on. And I would, when I interview people, and we employ a lot of people, my preference is for someone who's been in a team, someone who's played a sport, because they have endurance. They have been used to working in a team environment. They take on responsibility. They know what responsibility they have to do, and they will execute. So certainly, people who have been doing sports and extracurricular activities are preferred by employers.
I have one more question. What advice would you like to give to students and professionals alike?
In life is short, and just even for me, when I look back, it seems like just a few years ago that I did CIMA, right? And it'll catch up with you. So you need to have a goal. You need to have a vision for your life, right? All students, all professionals have a vision. Don't just go on day by day. You will look back and you'll see that nothing really has happened, right? So assess yourself every 2 years, right? For 2 years, you need to work hard at what you want to achieve, and assess yourself every 2 years. And after that, you take a decision what you want to do. Also, you need to educate yourself. Education is key. It's a critical success factor. If you are uneducated, don't expect don't accept fancy jobs, don't expect fancy things to happen if you don't educate yourself, because that is an enabler. It gives you wings, right? So educate yourself, right, whatever your profession. Also, pick up as much experience as you can along the way. You know, if you're an accountant, don't just limit yourself to accountancy. Look around the business, what's happening, get involved, get engaged, right, and get your experience around the field that you operate in, right? And the third most important thing is the attitude. If you have a good attitude, you can achieve many things. But if you have a bad attitude, then it'll show as your career progresses.